first memory was when I was 4 years old. My little sister was 18 months old. She was walking across the farmyard where we lived in Canada, and she was run over by a truck and crushed and killed in front of my mother and I.
I don't think Jesus just wants us to be polite with people. I think he wants us to be authentic, but we need to know enough about ourselves, enough about why we're doing what we're doing, so we can engage people with love.
My mother, unfortunately, died unexpectedly when I was just 10 years of age. It was like the lights had been turned out.
I got saved when I was 14 years old. I'll never forget, I was at UVA football camp, and it was a Saturday night, late Saturday night, and I was just going to church the next morning, and I had a dream that my dad passed away. And throughout that dream, Jesus kind of walks into the room, and I was kind of shocked and stunned, and Jesus said, "I'm preparing you."
My whole world was formed by fears. By the time I was 7, I was hospitalized for an ulcer. By the time I was 16, I was cutting. By the time I was in university, 18, 19, I was diagnosed with agoraphobia.
Galatians 5:6 says this, the only thing that matters is faith expressed in love.
I thank God we were a family of faith, and so, we were able to really lean into our faith to support us.
At that point in my life, at 14 years old, I was a bad kid. I was a kid that used to beat up people all the time, used to get in fights and just get in arguments. I used to always play against older people, and so I used to always thought I could do it my way. And I was a guy that went to church, but only went to church just to see the cute girl.
I might have known about the love of God in my head, but it really hadn't translated down to my heart, you can know things cerebrally, but that's different than living it.
But if you want a report card on your faith, see how you're dealing with the people who creep you out. And the crazy thing about that is we're the people that creep some people out.
I remember going up to the city cemetery with my dad, and a butterfly flew up behind the stone.
When Jesus said, "I'm preparing you," that's when my life changed. And so what I did was I prayed, I got on my knees and asked God for forgiveness, asked God to heal my heart and to allow me to be saved and to be in his arms for the rest of my life.
So I picked up a pen and a scrap piece of paper. It was the beginning of November, the beginning of gift-giving season. So it wasn't about writing down a list of the gifts I wanted, but to start to write down a list of the gifts I already had.
And I love that God doesn't want us to be a bunch of sheriffs. He wants us to know why we believe what we believe, but Jesus didn't come to die on a cross so we'd go bust everybody's chops, but that we would love people. The only thing that matters, faith expressed in love.
It also started just to represent that God was with me, and anytime I felt down or, that I was struggling, and I would move into prayer, unexpectedly these butterflies would show up, maybe on a truck or on a billboard or a tattoo or something.
Ever since my life's changed for the better. It doesn't mean that all the problems and tribulations and all the things went away. Sometimes even more came. But I believe that God had chosen me for something special.
Every day, just writing down 1, 2, 3 things. And what I started to realize was slowing down. I was counting all the ways God loved me personally, intimately. The hound of heaven was pursuing me all the time.
But here's the crazy thing. Jesus doesn't need our help. He wants our hearts.
Yeah.
He wants us to just be his.
But God is there in all the small ways and in all the kindness that other people show you. I have seen God work through a smile of somebody in a supermarket in a morning that I'm feeling stressed out. I've seen him work in big ways in my life.
I believe that he, put his hand on me and to guide me and guide my heart. And there was a lot of pain in my life from even my dad passing away and the hardship of that and going through that, in 2010. That was very tough on me. I was only 21 years old at the time, I believe, and that was really tough on my heart. My best friend in the world, but I really found a way to count on Jesus, and that was the way. That was the only way.
So I started to write down things I was grateful for, 1,000 gifts, 2,000 gifts, 3,000 gifts, and it started to migrate from my head down into my heart, how much God loved me.
And it's loving people without an agenda, because as soon as you love somebody with an agenda, it isn't love anymore. Just another program, and I don't want to be another program. I just want to be a guy who's trying to follow Jesus.
I see when I go on my social media that there's a lot of people hiding behind the anonymity, Instagram handles or Twitter handles, and just saying the most hateful things to each other. And I think that's one real practical way that we could show up in our faith by, don't be mean. Let's speak words of love to each other. Let's respect each other. Let's reach out and find a little bit of unity.
I've had some other hardships too. Even only being 26 years old, I've been divorced, but I've found peace and joy and forgiveness and love and hope in Jesus, and He's the way and the only way.
It's paying attention to the small graces where you start to realize God is personally taking care of me, one moment by moment by moment.
Understand that loving people isn't like a Hallmark moment. It's actually, it's going to involve some sacrifice and commitment. The kind of inconvenience that sent Jesus to die, that's actually really inconvenient sacrificial love.
Oh my gosh, God's love has just taken the girl who thought she was unworthy. There was a little child in me somehow thought if I had been more or better or had done something different that my mom wouldn't have died. And it was the love of Jesus and that just leaning into knowing that unconditional love supply isn't going anywhere.
So I pray that as you're sitting there and you're hopefully watching this and sharing this with people, that we can all come together and love as Christians and find a way to be saved and find a way to encounter Jesus. He's right around the corner. He's never far away, and He loves you. He wants you on His side, and He wants to be there for you through the good times and the bad.
And I guess I started to realize that I came back to the central part of Christianity is that Lord's Supper. Jesus actually embodies at that Lord's Supper how He wants us to live. He takes the bread and He counts it as grace. Grace, even there when he's 12 hours before the cross, and He chooses, on the night He was betrayed, Jesus took the bread and did what? Gave thanks. So Jesus, out of the whole cosmos, universe that He could have chosen to fight back against the dark, what does He choose? He chooses gratitude. He chooses that word in Greek, the original biblical language is eucharisteo. It literally means, chara means grace, eucharisteo means thanksgiving, charis means joy. So in every situation, if I can see it as grace, give thanks, I will always get to joy.
And the promise through our faith and through Jesus that my mom might be dead, but I'm going to see her again. And this is the promise that we all have.
Can I go ahead and take whatever God gives me and see that this is grace? I can be sustained by this and give thanks for it. And then in Be the Gift, I look at the second part of that story, which is what does Jesus do when He's been given the bread? He gives thanks and He doesn't hoard it. He doesn't keep it. He breaks it and He gives it. I really believe one of the most powerful words in the world is give. For God so loved the world, what did He do? He gave. He asks us to step into that same kind of life of thanksgiving, of forgiving, of life-giving, caregiving.
I pray for you right now, and I pray that Jesus overcomes your heart through this message. We love you.